Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here as always to discuss and deliberate issues of concern to Goa and Goans. Of course, we take up a lot of big ticket issues. The issue this week is not conventionally big ticket, but it's like a flu and a virus that is eating into our system without us kind of noticing it too much, because it's not as grand as issues of corruption and other misdemeanors of the dispensations. What we are talking about is this absolutely alarming rise in criminal cases, crimes, and one can call them small crimes or at times bigger crimes, but at the end of the day, the common citizen is living in an atmosphere of insecurity and unease with the rise in thefts, of course, murders, and so on and so forth, which has led to us wondering why the basic policing system in the state is not doing its primary job, mainly to give a sense of security to its citizens, and also the confidence that when law and order is breached or crimes are committed, the state and the police would act with alacrity in a manner that evokes a lot of confidence in the people, saying that swift action will act as a great deterrent against future such incidents. But that is surely not happening as we see in Goa. Of course, there are statistics that are completely alarming. We know from 2020 to 2023, there were a large number of about 114 murders were committed. There are other acts of theft cases. One look at the crime records will show how that is happening and how the total number of crimes are going up. If even a cursory glance at newspaper reports will show you, a gold theft case in Mapsa committed by minors. Then citizens have actually gone out and now sought direct action as theft cases are increasing in North Goa. Then you have one history cheater committing a crime and going away. Theft cases are happening all over. Thefts and burglary cases from North to South Goa is constantly happening. Then there's a case of a Delhi man who was stabbed to death for resisting a robbery in a beach in Goa. Then, of course, this whole issue of tenant verification that has come in because the influx of migrants has also supposedly led to a large number of theft and robbery cases. My personal view on the matter is a little different, because those who are committing these kind of cases are actually coming and doing the crime and running away. They're not renting houses and becoming residents of Goa, but that, of course, during the debate that can come out, and so on and so forth. So what we are here to look at, before I introduce our very esteemed panel, is primarily the nature of crime and criminals changing, or is policing being done in a manner which is so different from what was done earlier? Is the police unable to catch up with new trends in crime, or are they simply not doing their work because their interests have shifted to other things like different kinds of bandobast, helping politicians, helping in land deals as the allegations are, and so on and so forth. So these are things that we need to look at. Secondly, we also need to look at whether our people are doing the basic criminal investigations using technology well and simply doing the job properly, along with issues like staffing and other things. So there are a lot to unpack. I'm really honored and privileged to have a very esteemed panel, most of them being very established lawyers, and of course we have a veteran who has seen it all. I'll just introduce them. Caroline Colasso, criminal lawyer, has dealt with a lot of these issues for a very long time. Sally Rodriguez, another criminal lawyer from Margao this time, and has been giving very vital inputs on a lot of these issues and sees all this happening firsthand. Audrey Vegas, of course, needs no introduction, the chairperson of Bilancho Court, somebody who has dealt with I mean, criminal cases in a different form, as a mentor, as a guide to the oppressed. She of course has faced the police a lot and knows exactly how it functions, probably more than even lawyers. And of course, on my left is Shashank Narvekar, a very bright young lawyer from MAPSA, who also deals with a lot of these cases. Caroline, I'll start with you. Has the nature of the crime changed, or the nature of the policing changed?
The nature of the crimes, you know, as you said, we never, if you're taking off a whole last decade in the first place.
Right.
We never would see so many thefts. I do not know the reasons why there are, perhaps because of a lot of houses closed, or they think that Goa is this big paradise where there is. So the number of thefts of course have increased. The statistics, you've talked of murder, which again was such a rare, I mean, wasn't like the big place that you would know that to, but there are couples that are coming here and, you know, suddenly found dead on the beach with very suspicious circumstances.
Right.
And in terms of crimes against women, that also, in the sense that we used to have, I mean, Avdan have been battling these issues, but now this, with the whole concept of cyber crimes, like, you know, with pornography being sent, now you have new sections of the law which talk about, you know, disrobing and stalking and all these new ones. These are obviously brought in because the nature of the crimes have changed, and therefore these are new kinds of things that one is seeing. With regard, so therefore even the laws had to change to bring in a lot of this kind of electronic, you know, data and evidence, which first and foremost our police are not at all equipped to it. Even if you look at the new BNS, so the new acts, whether it was the former CRPC, IPC and the Indian Evidence Act, the large focus is on use of electronic evidence. So that means even courts have to be, you know, like so functional that you would, even witness doesn't have to come to court. But are our courts, when they're bringing that law, equipped to deal with such a lot of things? Besides the police not, the courts also are not. And I don't think every police station, you have one cyber cell, a cyber, you know, cell at Raibandar, but every police station should have at least one police officer. They can't have them transfers. That again, of course, perhaps will get discussed as to, you know, continuity of investigation of a case, etc. So in terms of the policing also, of, you know, like we have so much that that the police have to do and are not doing, and there are reasons, of course, which I suppose will get discussed in the course of the thing. So.
Sandy, quickly coming to you, this is the same question, but do you think all this is a offshoot or a result of the police itself, the nature of the policeman rather than the nature of the system changing, in the sense that with so much of politicization of the police force, the basic need to go out and do the bread and butter work is no longer there, because they're all either taken care of and know how to keep themselves comfortable. This is the charge that is basically.
So before we charge the police with ineffectiveness, I think we have to also look at the nature of the job of a policeman and their work conditions.
Right.
The Supreme Court, having established so many commissions, the most famous being Julio Ribeiro Commission, in looking into police reforms, identified so many issues that needs a revamping as far as policing is concerned. And looked at all the reasons why we have such abysmal rate of conviction. Goa, for that matter, has got one of the lowest rate of conviction, something like 19% or something is our rate of conviction.
So nationally you're saying it's one of the lowest?
Yes.
Okay.
And that itself is one of the reasons for the rising crime, because the criminal knows he can get away with it. Right. Caroline just mentioned the upgradation of our criminal jurisprudence, criminal laws. It has happened after more than 100 years. The laws which were established by our colonial masters, it took us more than 100 years to revamp that. Yes, there will be teething problems. As Caroline mentioned, our courts, our police is not equipped to do the electronic requirements that are there in the new acts. But at some point it has to come, because the nature of the crimes has changed, the investigation techniques have changed. There are so many loopholes that lawyers have been exploiting over a period of time. That's why you have that low rate of conviction, and this upgradation was required. So it's a welcome step, teething problems will be there. It will take some time for the system to catch up, but it has to start somewhere, and it's not too late. It's at the correct time that we have got this, and hopefully things will be better.
Okay. Although you deal with the police a lot and you fight for a lot of victims all over the place, and you yourself have faced so many difficulties in dealing with this. So tell me, how has the basic system of policing changed over the years, and why does it take so much effort and with failure in many cases to simply get, say, FIRs registered or investigations pursued, or the police to actually do what their job is?
I have seen for 30 years the changes. They have been very, very slow. There's no deterrent in the first place. So crime will go on. Besides, the methods of criminal investigation should change. We should modernize our methods. That's not happening. You see, one side we want to deal with crime, the other side we use the guys for every odd thing, like you just mentioned. They have to go for bandobast here, leave that what they are doing and run somewhere else on the road. Something has happened. So every type of activity is is a task of the policeman. So therefore he is also not able to concentrate. Secondly, before you go and file a complaint, before he registers it, he has to check with his hierarchy. That also delays the whole thing. So now we have very good laws now. BNS is a very good law. The CRPC has changed, everything has changed, but side by side these guys have to be oriented. You can't blame them. Their living conditions are bad. They have 48 hours duty sometimes. They hardly have any emotional or family life, and yet they are told to do so many things together. So I think government has to think of changing the system of operating these policemen who are there. Besides, we have shortage of women police, and when it's a case of a child or a woman, we need a woman police. That is not happening. Plus videography. Now see, a person who has moved on after the crime, you have to deal with that victim. Now to deal with the victim, are you going to call them back from Assam or some other place? So the videography has to be set up. No systems are in place. I feel systems, convictions, like Sally rightly said, all these have to be put in place with the new law, and then only we can hope.
Shanksi, while these are very valid points, what remains consistent in all this is that, and that is a charge, that the police does not seem to be sensitive enough to tackle or take up the cases of the common man and pursue that to its logical conclusion. It is becoming very, very difficult for somebody who doesn't have quote unquote contacts of any sort in Goa, though Goa is blessed with everybody knowing everybody, but even that doesn't work sometimes. It becomes very difficult for any victim of any criminality to get there, whether it is a robbery or a theft or a domestic violence or something bigger than that. It is extremely difficult because it's just not taken up. In fact, Stanley was mentioning during our discussion before that even filing an FIR has become a big ordeal. And then of course the elephant in the room is politicization. From the time of whether to register the FIR or not, or to pick up the complaint or not, or to pursue it or not, the speed at which the charge sheets have to be filed on, all this is a result of external factors which become so very important. So just your thoughts on this.
See, as far as the aspect of initially what you mentioned in your introduction was the aspect of petty crimes.
Yes.
And this chain snatching,
correct,
small robberies which are happening, which is which stems from a societal problem because of the increase in the expenditures. People are not able to support their families. There is no employment for them. These are the reasons why initially they take these small steps. Eventually that person who is committing the crime dares to do more and more and commits bigger crimes. Now the issue is twofold. One is as far as the soft skills training and this is across the board with almost all departments which are associated with government. See, we have the collectorate, we have the municipalities, we have the panchayats. Nobody who is a person who is facing the public is given any soft skills training. None of them know how to speak to somebody who comes to the office. If you go to any mamladar's office or any deputy collector's office. The attitude is not like you're there for the people.
Yes,
it's the same. That's the same in case of the police also.
Right.
Like ma'am said, they are facing a very difficult job. They are understaffed. A lot of them are put at different places. From traffic checkpoints to tenant verification, everything is pushed on them. There's nothing stopping the administration from increasing the workforce.
Right.
And from what we've seen in the last few years, there are allegations about fixing these spots to get these posts also.
Right.
So it is a lucrative job that the new recruits are looking for. But I don't think that they're looking at it from a point of view as service to the public.
Right.
What happens is in a lot of countries outside India, we see that job of a policeman or a traffic sentinel is treated with respect and dignity. Here, like how since they have a huge array of duties which are put on them, if you expect them to do tenant verification and at the same time you expect them to do also an investigation for a murder which is extremely complicated involving cybercrime, how does that match?
Correct.
So you have to look at that.
There was this proposal as part of police reforms that every police station should have two teams, one doing just investigation, the other doing law and order.
It was part of a judgment in the case of Prakash Singh in 2006. Yes.
Okay.
They're among the 7 largely which it broke up to about having this police complaints authority. One of the major points was separation of law and order from criminal investigation. I think that was an aspect that was really needed.
We have seen now in our municipality, for example, when the question of raising some illegal structures or whatever is concerned, the municipality sends a letter even to keep a watch on the premises which is alleged to be illegal to the police.
Okay.
Now, what all are they supposed to look after?
Correct.
And the issue of petty crimes, a lot of police don't like to register the FIR because the process of coming to a conclusion, which is from the FIR, then the charge sheet, then the production of the people in the court, the witnesses, all these things, by the time the entire case concludes, it's a 4 or 5 year ordeal even for the investigating officer.
Right.
So if it is going to be an ordeal for the investigating officer, for the people who are involved in the crime, for the accused, including the witnesses who are going, who wants to, for a petty crime of, let's say, snatching of a chain, the chain may be costing 80,000-90,000.
Right.
The state's expenditure on that entire process is so much more, and the burden is always on the officers involved.
But then what is the solution?
There has to be, like it was discussed earlier, the deterrent, the process has to be shortened. It has to be quick. There has to be some quick results shown. So just the new act being introduced, but not having checks and balances in place to shorten the entire process. See, right now we look at an average of 4 to 5 years, if I'm correct, because I'm not primarily doing a lot of criminal work, but 4 to 5 years is the average time. It has to be cut down to about 1.5 years. Only then will,
yeah, but that again would be a systemic change of, if you only focusing on the police and then you say that the cases are taking long. When it comes to an investigation, there are time frames which are already fixed under the BNSS. That for a particular offence up to certain years, it is a certain 60 days, 90 days, 180 days. And if you do not file the charge sheet within those time frames, then it's called something called statutory bail or mandatory bail, etc. So those things are fixed. But as he rightly said, let's assume the police in a very good scenario complete the investigation. Some are very sensitive, like rape and all, you can't delay. So it is same when you look, you have to collect the semen swabs, then you have to do all the medical examination. They're crucial things. So with same police, if they're sent for something else, vital evidence is lost. But the second question, let's assume they do a good job and the charge sheet, perfect charge sheet is filed. The second thing is when it goes to the court, again there's such a lot of shortage. You look at any courtroom in Mapsa today, lawyers are piled up into the corridors because there's no even place for the lawyers to enter the courtroom. And the reason is, I don't know how those JMFCs, I give kudos to them, I keep telling them for doing a fantastic job. 80 cases, sometimes 40 in the morning, 40 in the
80
evening.
cases in a day.
Can you even just call out the matters to even write a Roznama entry? Is like so and so appeared for so and so, this thing happened, then they filed an application, whatever. You have to give a little synopsis of it. And then now they're saying also, as in the Supreme Court, this thing, what you call, upload this Roznama immediately onto the portal. So they are in a panic to see that it gets uploaded. So they are also under pressure, but you don't have as many judges. So again, the whole, so it's like the whole, when you say criminal investigation and policing, look at police, look at investigation, look at courts, and then because you can't say low
Matsar, today we
conviction
have
rate.
a vacancy of, out of the 7 courts, 3 courts are vacant.
Right. Right.
How do they
Correct.
take up the quick disposal of the
Coming
case?
back to
This is a story all across towns, cities.
That
it
is
the
why
same
only
story.
the aspect of getting in new laws is not enough. It has to
Correct.
be
In
an
fact,
all
what
around.
is happening, the practical things that are happening on the ground is there is one courtroom who is in charge of another 2 courtrooms. So what is happening, we start at 10 o'clock and we end at 1:30. He's only doing procedural work from 10 to 1:30.
all right. Right.
Just dates. Adjournments are given for his board, his or her board, and then another 2 courts. Day is gone. Afternoon he comes, does the same thing. That's it. So that's where you have these cases getting piled on, pendency is increasing, and no result is coming.
Okay, we understand that. So coming back to the core topic. Now the thing is, this entire rise in say theft cases or murder cases or break-ins, we often find that a lot of these cases are being a lot of these crimes are being committed by people from outside who are coming in. I mean, that's a general trend, but correct me if I'm wrong. There are people who necessarily don't have a very big history record. They're not history cheaters. Most of them are first timers. Some of them are now minors getting into this, as the infamous Mapsa jewelry case proved. Now there are a large number of unknown forces coming into the state, committing the crime and going in. Even shooters are coming in, doing the work and moving out. Now, how do you? I mean, but the point is, do they think that Goa is a soft state where you can come and do this and the police will not touch them? This is the confidence that robbers. I mean, is that correct? Is that
No doubt,
Yeah.
Goa is seen as a soft state. Also, Goa, don't forget, is one of the richest states in the country. So, any criminal
Right.
looks at Goa as a very easy prey. Then you couple it with the other issues that we have.
right?
Then Goa is right for the plucking, so to speak.
Right.
Now, the crimes, the nature of crimes also, if you see in Goa, they are not really of the extreme hideous cases that are seen in the rest of the states.
Right. Right.
The nature of crimes are pretty benign here. As you rightly pointed out, it's more in the nature of robberies
Right.
and thefts.
Right.
And this is major. Murders, not so much. Rapes is another,
Alarming thing.
strangely,
Alarming.
rapes is quite high
Right.
as per the national average.
Right.
And that also, if you see the number of rapes perpetuated by the accused who are known to the victim,
Slippery
is
slope,
very high.
those fine,
Yes, yes.
So
those age.
it's within the families and things
Yes,
like that.
yes,
So that's a very strange phenomena, particularly to Goa.
Goa, okay.
But rest of the heinous crimes, we are very low in terms of the rest of the country. Robberies is high, and that is particularly, I think it's purely economic. Goa being a rich state, you have
Empty
economic
houses,
this thing,
perhaps.
empty houses, and you have
And a
lot
migrant
of
workforce which needs more money.
Yes,
Oh,
unemployment,
okay. Yeah.
lifestyles have changed. People are seeing flashy lifestyles on social media. Everybody wants a piece of that pie. They can't afford it. So then the next thing is robbery.
No, we had the major case where, not here of course, where I think it happened in Bangalore. The guy ordered an iPhone with a
Yeah.
with a cash on delivery. When the iPhone
1.5
happened,
lakh
he
worth
took
of-
the iPhone and murdered the delivery person. So that also
Two
happened.
accused.
Two accused. Okay, I'll just come to one more interesting point which you had actually raised. Now, is it also a fact that since lodging an FIR becomes like an uphill task everywhere, and even after you do it, there are obviously black sheep in every profession, and in every police station there is this word called setting. That seems to be a big overriding elephant in the room, which overrides IPC, CRPC, BNS,
Everything.
whatever be the case. Okay,
Everything.
so that setting is a different court by itself, and that kind of a setting is, I mean, forgive me if I'm hurting sentiments, but it is done between the accused and the police and the lawyers, the lawyers of different parties, and so on and so forth. Now, is this actually correct, and what is actually happening?
No, certainly this is a truth.
Yeah.
We shouldn't shy away from that. There is a nexus between police and the criminal, and in recent years there is a nexus between police, criminal, and a lawyer. And there are select lawyers who are the favored lawyers at police stations, who seem to get their work done, who get bail orders very quickly. Even acquittals.
You are saying it's so obvious that you can't deny it. That's what you're saying.
I think in every town there are lawyers who will tell you which are the lawyers
who are
favored by the police.
The investigating officer and the constables directly tell you, go to this person if you want.
and they tell you not to go to certain people.
Yeah.
So
This
that
is
is-
an open secret.
Right. So how do professionals like you deal with this then?
So for a professional to get, especially in the criminal side, to get work is only exclusively one. It would be your contacts, and once you gain a certain reputation, it's on your reputation that you can get work. If you're talking about taking every case of whatsoever nature which comes at a police station, then you have to have this kind of settings in to be done to be successful. But yes, it is difficult when there is that sort of a setting at police station. It's difficult for other lawyers to get work.
But does that also mean that because of this, a gang committing a lot of thefts also know how the system works, and that happens? See, the thing is, I mean, why talk only about this? If you recall, about maybe 5 or 6 years back or 10 years back, the entire collection of drugs in the Malkhana disappeared,
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
reason given was that rats have come and
Rats
eaten it. So
that was the ANC anti-narcotic cell on the basis.
yeah, I mean, you're aware of this. I mean, all the slightly senior lawyers will know that this actually happened. So that became a famous story. Although I'll come. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, so
finish
but
that.
it is like, I mean, when you say this whole thing of nexus and settings,
Yeah.
you know, I suppose it happens not only in Goa but all over.
Yeah.
However, the issue is, and women today, one of the major things that we discussed at our meetings, etc., is often also that women are going to the police station and police are not registering FIR. Now with this new BNS, of course, they've introduced the concept of the zero FIR, because one of the things that used to happen also, it's not just jurisdiction, that jurisdiction, even though the women's police stations established were supposedly to have all Goa jurisdiction,
Right.
but yet they would say that, oh, please go to MAPSA, and then shunt them around. But now with this concept of zero FIR, which was there as per Supreme Court, now it's actually given mandate of law. You can register your FIR anyway. So at least that running around, at least the police now cannot say. If they do not lodge the FIR, then there are also now put in the BNS as to, you know, what would be the next steps. So as you said, teething problems, hopefully it will think, but then with police corruption, and largely what you have not yet raised perhaps, which is yet, is this nexus of the thing of the police with the but even if there are good police,
Right.
and then you get a call from, because if you can get calls from politicians for a traffic violation,
Right.
like, I mean, what do you expect them to do? So let's assume you're a good police officer, you just don't have, you'll be so demoralized, not even register
Very
a
important
complaint
point,
on a
correct.
thing like
Yes,
this.
yes,
So
yes.
this nexus was also part of Prakash Singh's judgment, where the entire reason for the judgment is that this politician-police nexus, the constant transfers, the threat of a transfer. I mean, you can do this punishment postings, everyone knows about. Why would you want to do that? You know, so okay, fine, you get a call, and as he says, then you have to lodge the FIR, do the investigation, and then you're called repeatedly to the court. I don't think even a most committed policeman, however, and there are good guys. I mean, let's not throw
of course, correct.
and say
But
that
to
they
be,
are all
to be fair,
extremely.
this aspect of the nexus between elected representatives or the administration and the police exists all over the world.
Right.
The only difference in a state like Goa, or rather,
Everyone knows each other.
is that everybody is. It's a very small population.
correct.
One of the aspects which Sir also raised was that our boundaries are, you can get out of Goa after
Correct. So
committing a
quickly,
crime
correct.
within half an hour, 2 an hour.
Yes, correct.
Now with the bad roads, maybe it'll take 1.5 hour, but
Correct.
it's
No,
just
Margao
it's going to be
and
that
Margao
time.
Margao
You can just get out
that
within no
way.
time.
Right,
So
right.
this nexus is not something which is new, but from what I have read, I don't think that the nexus extends to the kind of petty crimes
No, but
like
even-
for
even-
traffic
even
violation.
traffic violation,
This is
pedicab
this
also
is
is
I
not
think
also-
exclusive to
Yeah.
a place like Goa, because it's a small state. The population, almost everybody knows everyone,
Yeah.
or there is a connection from somewhere or the other.
Although I'll
But-
come to you on two aspects. One is of course crimes against women and the number of rapes that are rising in Goa. Now you as somebody who works in the community so closely, what are the challenges that you face in trying to simply get justice for a female victim?
There are various challenges.
Hmm.
The first challenge comes from the parents themselves and the society.
Hmm.
I mean, the thing is they don't want to register an offense. One. So you have to counsel the person and counsel the parents. Finally, you get it to the court. Then the court takes such a long time.
Right.
Presuming the police have done their job, and they do now. I don't want to criticize them because they take quick action. Okay. But when the moment you go to the court, it's such a long delay. You take a child, I'm talking about a child, a rape victim, to the court several times. She's sent back, saying either that the opposite lawyer has not come, or the APP is not there, or somebody else is not. I think we need real fast track justice. Like,
Right.
unless you get justice quickly, what is the meaning of justice for you?
That's one of the questions.
And why
I
should a
asked
child
also.
go-
How
I
long will it go to
just
court?
to interject,
Yes.
that's the reason why I am quite hopeful that the new laws will have the desired results. She mentioned very particularly a particular point why how the victim has to repeatedly go to the court. The new laws cover that area.
The
especially-
BNS, huh?
Yes, and
See,
they say
one
you
side you are
can.
talking of disclosure of identity.
Hmm.
Other side you are making the child come again and again.
Right.
No longer. That is what the new act says, that you can depose by video conference.
Yeah.
Right.
The accused, the witnesses, all can depose, not only in rape
Yes,
cases,
yes,
in any other
I-
cases, video conferencing. So the new acts actually bring and make use of the technological advancement that is there all around us. And this was not there. So
But the challenge is
But the court does not have the system
Yeah.
in place.
it will come.
yeah.
How long?
No, okay.
long?
While the glass can be half empty or half full, as the case
Yeah.
may be,
We want
but
to
the
believe it is half full.
half full. But there are challenges, even as I said, bigger than the BNS and the IPC or CRPC. Now, my point is, if you have an investigative officer or other people in the police station who've already done a quote unquote setting with the accused,
Yeah.
then the issue is that nothing will move anyway.
Nothing moves anywhere.
So that is where the problem is. My point is, and in these matters, a call will invariably come from
No, but,
from some political
but
source.
just assuming that the nexus is always between the police and accused is also wrong.
We are not assuming that.
There is,
that
if you go
surely,
to see
correct.
these petty crimes and the
Yes. Yes.
crimes related to land grabbing and stuff like
Sure,
that, if you
sure,
see,
sure.
even the person who is the aggrieved is doing settings with the
Correct.
other
So I'm
party.
just saying there are settings galore of various forms of various natures everywhere.
And settings
which-
are a temptation because they're paid to get the job.
Correct. Absolutely. That is an extremely
recruitment
there's a
process is also a big
very
problem.
crucial point that
But
you
it's
raised,
a human tendency.
because that is where we are coming in. See, firstly we will get into the whole issue of police reforms, transfers and postings, tenure, which Caroline just
They've-
flagged, and
and
we
they've
can
started
deep
now.
dive into that in this
They've
segment.
started now.
Yeah. So what I'm essentially saying here is this, that the point here is when police transfers and postings are completely dependent on what the political masters want to do. See, this whole thing of either the police complaints authority or the board that appoints does the
Yeah.
transfers, all that is there only on paper. I mean, the issue is that their signatures must be there somewhere in when the when
It's
the
all hogwash.
but it's all,
according to me.
yeah.
I don't think it really works. Like
Yeah.
that.
So the issue here is that when all the transfers and postings are based on who is linked to which MLA or minister, and you will find certain policemen will always get a posting here. I know of a very high profile DYSP who's not moved out of North Goa for almost 25 years.
Last year when they did the recruitment of these police constables,
Yes.
but the police constables had openly put photographs of them with their MLA saying thank you for this.
Yeah.
So this is a shocking, not a revelation, but a shocking input.
I think it was just
Yes, sir.
before the last elections,
Yes.
if I'm not
Correct.
wrong. We had
So the point is, so this itself is a big challenge. When you look at a petty theft or robbery or a heinous crime like rape and others, this is a challenge which is always there. Now, how do we change that? In the sense that there has to be political will to depoliticize the whole policing system. But do you think that will is there?
Is it there? My
No,
question is,
no, obviously it is not there.
Will
That's
it be
why-
there?
Yes, correct.
That all depends on us who we choose.
Correct.
And we are putting the same people in place, back again in the same place. So this will be forever and ever, amen.
If you recall, Caroline, there's this police reforms bill that has been on the anvil for a
Yes.
very, very long
In
time.
fact, drafted
That's
and
not being
think by a lot
implemented.
of members of the public were called on to give suggestions.
And it gets
and
tabled
it
in
gets
various assemblies
stapled
and
in-
gets tabled in and tabled out.
Because
So,
police is a state
Yes,
subject.
yes.
It is for the states to implement it. Now, some states are dragging their feet. Some states have implemented
Correct.
in
Kerala,
different,
I think, has
yeah,
very
in
good
different
police
varying this thing. So it all depends on the will.
but tell me, if there is a, suppose if there is a police reform bill, and many of you may have studied it and understand aspects of, if you can just share with us as to how will a police reforms bill make the elected class more accountable towards law and order, and how will they be, how can we delink their involvement and interference in the due process of law?
No, see, already there are very clear guidelines given in that police reforms.
Right.
Some are already established. Your SP police complaints, this thing is through that reforms bill. Similarly, division of investigation police and the law and order police is in that.
Right.
What happens is on the ground.
Right.
That
Right.
the
Exactly,
the
correct, yes.
implementation is the big question.
Sure.
So your police complaints authority might be unmanned there for 6 months. Nobody is there, so where do you put the complaints?
Right. Right.
Similarly, we know that the division should be there, but any law and order situation, you from the PI to the PSI to the constable, everybody is over there.
Right.
Similarly, when a VIP is visiting the state, everybody is on the streets doing bandobast.
Yes, correct.
So it is there on paper. The implementation, there's a lot to be desired. So that's where we are faulting.
We see
I-
of the higher ups openly protecting their erring officers also.
Yeah,
That
correct.
is also. But then who takes action against the higher officers?
I'll tell you what has happened
Somebody
is
does.
that things that have seeped into the system so deep that we need to look at things how to fix. These are simple things. When you go and try to lodge a police complaint, okay, the first thing the police will think, as of now this is the situation, the first thing police will think is, how can I make money out of this?
Correct. Correct.
Can I extract money from the accused?
Right. Right.
This is the first thing that is going on in his mind.
Right. Absolutely.
So he is only looking at that angle first.
Correct.
If the dispute is between friends or family members, relatives, far off this, that,
Yeah, yeah.
he has no desire to lodge that complaint, to make that into an FIR, because he knows in 6 months time when the things cool down, these two parties will compromise.
Right.
So why should I work
Effort is
Right.
one.
Right. Right. Right.
6 months, 8 months, 1 year? I'm going to slog trying to get this to prosecution, and these people are going to compromise and finish it off. Let me try to do the compromise right now,
Right.
and on top of
what
it,
he does.
see what I can make out of it.
Right. Right.
This is the
what-
ground level situation at the police station. We are talking about very high things in terms of police reforms
Sure,
and
sure.
politicians and these things. At the ground level, on a daily basis, these are the battles that we all are fighting over there.
See, I mean, we all know that this case is very fresh in our memories. This whole Asagaon demolition case. Now, you had to have a PI of a police station actually sending a letter out to the chief secretary or note to the chief secretary, stating that he was under a lot of pressure, by the DGP of the state. That was his allegation. Who continuously told them that, prevented them from stopping the whole demolition. And the point is that completely laid bare, though we haven't heard about that letter after that, of course, and the DGP got transferred thereafter. But if those facts mentioned are completely true, then it is a black and white affirmation of all that we are discussing here, isn't it? So,
the
yeah.
solutions, Sujay, would largely,
Yeah.
I mean, when you say solutions, again, I suppose we can talk ad nauseum
Of course, of
about
course.
like what is wrong with the system.
Right.
The police fixing is known, the court trials are thing, but like as you say, political will would be there. Again, there's no political will, because we can see it. When you say crimes against women, if they really were concerned about the rights of women, then the commission of Goa State Commission for Women, or what are the one-stop crisis centers, whichever they had established, had to be seen that they're equipped, they are funded, they are motivated, but all the systems are failing. That means you can clearly show that they are not really committed. with regard to the police complaints authority, I don't even know whether it's functioning.
Right.
It doesn't have a head for a long time. That one
Right.
is, now you know the person's term is getting over prior to their term getting over. Already prepare, start doing your, don't wait for months and people come there, dates are given. So that system has failed. If you look at the Human Rights Commission, these are all commissions, statutory bodies which are supposed, so people go file complaints after 1 year, 2 years, case just thrown out or somebody resigns. So it's like none of the, at least in my,
bodies,
the bodies which are supposed to function are functioning. And therefore, clearly there is no political will, and therefore I think it will largely it will have to be really only civil society, like upsurge in them saying we want accountability, we want a state that is free from all kinds of crime, because we have a right to it. We never were like this,
with these
to be
kind of
fearful for women to walk at
reforms with
night
the
and
police,
stuff.
I think Kerala and Karnataka, because I used to live for about 2 years in Bangalore, the police having a language barrier also for us. The police's attitude is completely different from what you see here. They are extremely forthcoming, they are extremely cordial. I have had an accident with my vehicle there. They made sure all the parties were comfortable at the police station. They followed with the due process, whatever was to be done. It was just one incident that had happened with me.
Correct.
But in general, if you see, even with drinking, driving, states like Maharashtra, all these people, the constables and officers who are standing on the street checking drinking, driving, don't entertain calls, whichever kind of politician may call.
Right. They don't do that.
They don't do that.
Right.
That is why we have
the problem here for drunk driving, I would like to make this mention.
Yes.
You have the chief minister of the state who says, makes a statement saying that we cannot check every vehicle for drunk driving.
Right.
The home minister has got absolutely no idea about policing.
Okay.
Exactly.
And why do you say that?
Okay, in a place like Dubai, I lived for 12 years in Dubai. You think the police check every vehicle for drunk driving? But nobody dares drink and drive there.
Correct.
Why? Because the penalties are so severe. There might be 100 people on the road who are drunk and driving.
Right.
But if one is caught, the penalties are so severe that is a deterrent for everybody else. So nobody bothers coming on the road after having a drink.
Right. Right.
That's all that you require.
But
you need this to be done. You have the chief minister who says, makes a statement like that. Ridiculous. That means you don't know what is policing, and the guys who are supposed to direct and give policy have got no clue. Then obviously that's the result that we are seeing on the ground.
This
Even
statement is
vigilance by the
especially
police can bring crime rate down.
Right.
There is no fear of the police, I feel.
Absolutely.
I mean, after so many years, 30 years, I
the
can say
question of
this.
vigilance and monitoring. Why is it not possible in Goa? You can check every vehicle. How many cases of drunk driving are generally post a certain time? Let's say post 10 o'clock in the night. How much traffic do we have in Goa post 10 o'clock? You can check.
And only in certain areas. It's not happening in
it
the
doesn't
remote
happen
areas
everywhere.
also. So one more thing I wanted to flag. This absolute out of the box, just for the heck of the discussion I'm raising it, because I also know that it's not it's utopia to even think this is going to happen. But see, in every say organization or professional organization, there is some system of say feedback, some system of looking at how how you've been performing and so on and so forth. Now the point here is, why can't this be applicable to a professional service like even policing, for that instance? See, this whole aspect of PIs serving a tenure of say 3 years now, and they've said you're going to have a minimum tenure. DYSPs are going to have a minimum tenure of 4 years or whatever.
As per Prakash Singh also, this
As per Prakash Singh. So okay, the tenure is fine, but the point here is that for those 3 years, are we even looking at that person's performance? Is anybody going back to them and saying, look, how many cases have you solved? How many convictions have you secured? How many FIRs have you lodged and done this? What is the crime record in your area? Now, how do we assess that?
This issue exists in every department and every sort of...
On paper it is there. Yes.
No, not on paper. See, I have faced the same, the issue of reviewing someone's performance has today been only exclusively reserved for private entities.
Right.
There is no review of the police force. There is no review of any of the government employees of how they are performing.
Correct.
So it is not exclusively to the police.
Sure, correct.
Now in the municipality also, since I have been elected, I have been telling them that we have complaints coming in. See, a lot of times people will not come forth. For example, an issue of the market. When the market inspector is given charge of moving around the vendors, vendor finds it very difficult to complain against the market inspector.
Right.
So
right.
who is going to do that review? Superior of the market inspector, who has put him there? How can that cannot work as a check and balance
Sure.
against his performance?
Sure.
There has to be an internal audit per se, or maybe a performance review like how they have in private companies, by putting in somebody like an HR who will review the kind of work that they are doing, not only in the police but in all departments of the government. Why are they not doing this?
Correct.
This starts from the soft skills training right up till a review of performance. Have a yearly review of every employee that you have. If you have that, the same way how private companies are upgrading today the kind of employees that they are having, we'll have a better performing police force and government.
And the review should be done by
independently within the department.
Not the local MLA cannot be a reviewing authority.
Today there is no review. See, apart from the 5-year period that you get, there is no other review of the elected representative also.
Correct.
I am saying that even true about myself.
Correct.
Apart from that 5-year period, what other review is there or to keep me in check
Checks and
of
balances.
whether
Correct.
I am
Correct.
performing and doing my job or no?
Correct.
There is nothing.
Correct.
So as far as elected representatives are concerned, at least in 5 years there is a
Right.
there's a check. But what happens about government employees,
Right.
including departments like the police? They have, once they get employed, they just assume that now till I
For life.
for life I'll be there.
Correct.
I have been stating this time and again in our meetings in the municipality that people who are not performing, people who are, do something.
Right.
Suspend one person.
Correct.
Fire one person. It is a deterrent for all the other employees to work diligently and better.
Correct. Other one, just one snippet of information I wanted from you. From all the cases that you've kind of fought, which is the quickest in which you've managed to get a conviction?
There was a case of a 76-year-old woman who was raped. In that case, she also got a compensation.
How long ago was that?
Not very much.
Okay.
Say about 7 years.
Okay, so there are some bright bright exceptions to the whole thing. And how many cases would be there that are languishing for years and years and you are struggling mainly because of it?
Most of them.
Yeah.
And I handled quite a number of cases in a month.
Right.
So quite a number are still languishing in the court. There was one case where we used to take the girl. It was a rape case. And she's also associated to a murder case. And then we used to take her, bring her back, and it went on for months. Months.
Right.
So much so that fine day she said, I'm not coming.
And she gave up.
No,
Or
she
the
didn't.
opposite party approaches them to say compromise, and
Right.
it's quite sad that so many, the opposite lawyer perhaps is also will, the lawyer for the accused will tell her, why you won't see how many times you're coming to the court, take some money, and sometimes for a migrant 1 lakh and all if you give,
It's a big
still a
amount.
big amount, and I
Big
know
amount.
that they
It's a
have
temptation.
half the way compromised quite sadly, because you know when you have,
Judges in India in several places of the in India have suggested the
the
accused to
parties.
get married. Then you can't take.
And it's
I
a
mean,
matter of record anyway. So
Yeah.
correct. Right, before we kind of closing in, so let us look at, let us not even look at, let us hope for certain solutions. But even that hope, if we can underline it and articulate in words, what do you think can be done to increase the deterrent factor and making the whole system more professional?
See, there are 2-3 aspects that I am looking at is, and the biggest hope that I have is in the new laws, because the new laws have been upgraded to the point to reflect the realities of today's world, and if the implementation is done proper of these 3 acts and the other, especially the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act, if these are implemented in the true spirit of the law,
Right.
I feel a lot of problems can go away. Yes, the police will have to be motivated for that. Okay, you will have to look into their working conditions and things like that. Keep them motivated. Don't have the political interference, stopping and putting roadblocks.
That is where the challenge is. How do you stop
Yeah.
that? I mean,
So,
it all boils down to ultimately.
if it really comes down to that, then it is to the people,
Right.
to the kind of representatives that we elect.
Correct.
Because if you want something to change from ground up, then that is where it starts.
Correct.
We need better leaders. We need guys who can legislate. Right now we have politicians who are only looking at ways of making money. They talk about development. That's only to pass projects so that they can get their commission. There is nobody talking about legislation. Many of our acts which are in Goa are just copy-paste jobs from Maharashtra or Karnataka or
Absolutely,
somewhere else.
yes.
So nobody is looking at legislation. Why they are not looking at legislation? Half of them are not even equipped to look at legislation. They do not have the bandwidth to look at legislation. That's the only way we are going to change this. If you want the whole system overhaul, we need better leaders who can look at these things.
Correct.
Today, the way we are discussing, how many leaders talk about this when they're talking about the challenges that they have? How many people ask their representatives these questions?
Correct. Yes.
So we have to change. People have to demand this accountability from their representatives. If they are not performing, you get the correct people in, then only you can hope for a sea change. Otherwise,
Yeah. Colonel, see, the thing is, we have been constantly talking about other issues like environment destruction, land grab, and other things. But here, when your entire policing system acts in this kind of a manner, it is actually a complete system grab. And at the end of the day, there are more people suffering from matters like this, either a theft, robbery, rape, whatever you, than the Goa's land is getting destroyed. And somehow that
this
focus
affects you personally,
correct. Yeah. So what kind of, again, as we are talking of some kind of solutions, what would be your thoughts?
First, I just wanted also to comment because my colleague has been saying that the laws are good. Of course, there is a sea change, but at least I would like to say that one factor that has not changed from the old 100 years law to now is that, say, what was earlier section 27 of the Indian Evidence Act, where any confession to a police officer is not admissible in evidence. And there's a reasoning why, like quite often till now you used to have in the papers, oh, he confessed, and people say, oh, he confessed, and therefore he must have done it. But they would not say that under the Indian Evidence Act, even you can, confess and give even minute detail, but a confession to a police officer was not admissible because they believed police would use third-degree methods to extract a confession.
Right.
So now, in spite of, and every law commission after commission went into this aspect, because police used to come and say, oh, see, because we can't get this police confession thing, all our cases are falling flat. But even after the law commissions went into statistics, still they felt, as of today, people do not trust the police do extract confessions, third-degree methods is still rampant in police stations, and hence
in cases that they are interested in. Yeah.
That obviously the new BNS has still not done away with confessions to police officers.
Right.
So that is just to be noted, that there is still a huge mistrust or a distrust of police and
policing.
police.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, with regard to what can be done, that's really, I feel that sometimes we've brought in small changes. Like, for example, the forensic laboratory was like, I don't know how many protests we've had to even get the laboratory functioning, because one of the huge delays, even in drugs cases, which I normally specialize in, 1 year to get a report from CFSL Hyderabad, because they are taking the drugs from the country.
Right.
Why couldn't we have a lab? So they set up a lab, and then it was non-functional for almost, 7-8 years, till the High Court literally sat on that guy's head, brought him before the court, threatened to hold him in contempt, and got that this thing functioning. Now, you don't need high courts for this. Where is the government's commitment to setting up a forensic lab? Even finally what it got set up, which is one of the major aspects of an investigation, fingerprints, DNA.
Right.
I don't think they don't still have many of the drugs, like they need the standard sample so like it's an ill-equipped thing.
Right.
And police complaints authority, again, no head, no backup, no financial backup, all these things. Women's commission, I think now is set up after protest. Why do people have to protest for setting up statutory bodies? So my thing is that we used to have this thing, Auda, myself, all of the women activists, constant meetings of the lay people or citizenry with the police.
Right.
Then they found us asking difficult questions. We bring concrete cases. In this case, this particular woman went, FIR was not lodged.
Right.
So the best thing they did was disband it.
Right.
So therefore, I think still the only solution, I would always say, whether it is environment where we're winning battles, whether it would have to be people demanding accountability, coming up in large numbers, asking uncomfortable questions to the government and making those
but on
bodies
this point, I'll just tell you, about a year or so ago, MAPSA police had conducted this sort of an interaction with the residents of MAPSA without having put a single thing on the newspaper that such a thing is being conducted.
Correct. Okay.
See, if you are serious about knowing what are the issues and how the department is going to help resolve these issues, publicize it, say that we are holding.
Correct.
They just call a few people who are
And say it's
going to
done.
say, wow, you're doing a
And
good
do a lip
job.
service.
They did the
Correct.
same thing in my
They've done
ward.
this in a lot of the
Yeah.
jurisdictions.
You and Shashanka left. What are your last thoughts on finding a way forward? I think Caroline very rightly mentioned that even the citizenry needs to be more aware, and activists like you all maybe could work harder. I don't know how much you can work harder depending based on what you already do,
Yes.
but essentially increase the awareness levels of people also so that they know their
That's
rights
what we are
better and
doing
all that.
constantly
So
too.
will that be one
Yeah.
way forward?
We
Yes.
need good lawmakers.
Yes.
We
Yes.
need good lawmakers.
Hmm.
We need good law keepers. We need an audit of the performance of the law keepers.
Right.
Unless that is done, unless they are made accountable, unless the whole home department takes it seriously, that we have to see that these things are put in place,
Right.
that everything functions as per law, and fear of the police should be a deterrent for crimes increasing.
Fear of the law, actually.
Fear of the
Law.
police, lawkeeper,
Lawkeeper. Correct.
lawkeeper.
Yeah. Quick last words.
I keep saying this at the end of every interview
Yeah.
and discussion that I've done. People need to elect better representatives. There was a time when we entered into our independent era when there was people from India were not educated. They weren't so equipped to deal with everything. There was an aspirational aspect to politicians. People used to vote for somebody who is better than them so that they can give them a better existence.
Correct.
That has gone from there to someone who you identify with. I'm sorry, but if that person is not able to do something better for himself, how is he going to legislate and do like Sir rightly said?
Correct.
Elect better people, elect educated people, elect people who are able to answer the question. The current dispensation, the best job that they do is when an uncomfortable question is asked to them, they just maintain silence on it and wait for the issue to die down.
Correct.
And people's memory is quite unfortunately short.
Right.
That by the time that person comes back to their door again to ask for a vote, that question is never asked. And people are happy in a situation today where financially everyone, practically all sections of, apart from the richer people are comfortable in.
Right.
Even that 5,000, 10,000 what they give during elections, for them it suffices. That is why they take that
Very
5,000 and
important
then
point,
are forced to commit these kind of petty crimes.
Correct.
Elect better people who will think about you in terms of the entire social strata, not just developmental, so-called developmental projects.
Correct.
You have to question everyone who comes to your door to ask for a vote. What has been your performance? Which should include policing also.
Correct.
So if you have in your area cases where people who are running small shops, they get robbed, people whose gold chains are being snatched by, ask the person who you have elected.
Right.
Not just whether he has made sure that there is enough security around.
Right,
Why are there no CCTV cameras installed in our towns? This you have to ask your local elected
Very
representative.
important point. Kaustubh. Correct. Yes. Very
Not
important
just,
point.
you cannot blame
Especially
police.
the CCTV cameras equipment.
They
all
have
that
to be.
is very
We have
critical.
passed resolutions in Mapsa municipality at least 5 times to install, but they have not been installed.
They're
Right.
too expensive, they buy.
Yeah, but it's not expensive to buy over people from the other side to put in your to get them to your.
The purpose.
So
You
yeah.
can do that. You can do this also.
So unfortunately, we are running out of time. The clock reminds me, but we've had a good, detailed, intensive discussion, and I'd like to just go back to one saying that very often people say that the law is a member of one species of the animal kingdom, and when they say that, one should reflect on that and figure out that look, the law is not necessarily an animal. The people who are elected or people who are supposed to govern or paid salaries by the taxpayers' money to implement and protect the law in all its aspects to give justice, at the end of the day they need to behave like sensitive, committed human beings and professionals. And I think that is where the big gap between crime and punishment lies, and that's a huge abyss which is getting bigger and bigger. Is that firstly it is no longer, doesn't seem to be a deterrent. Now, there may be professional people but with good intentions, but completely swamped by the other forces of politics and what have you. or it could just simply be that there is not enough effort being done to keep up with the times in terms of technology and policing and so on and so forth. Of course, infrastructure issues are always there. We didn't even get into the aspects of infrastructure in police stations, what they have. Many police stations don't have telephones, internet connections are bad, they don't have vehicles to move. So the issues, it is multifarious, everybody is not a black sheep, but the point remains here is that at the end of the day, there needs to be an absolutely die-hard political will to have a better system in place. And I think this is where we need to focus on, because even our optimism with regard to the new laws that are coming in may be very well placed, but we just hope that we don't again get into an era of despondency after about 5 years, when the political and the will to implement and embrace efficiency is lacking for reasons that we all know. And I just hope that we work towards a system that is set rather than settings happening in police stations. I thank all my panelists for their very riveting and incisive views, and grateful that we are able to keep this conversation going for a better Goa. Thank you.
Thank you.